Look at this crew.
Look at this crew.
I like having a
What up?
crew, but I like that it's this crew.
This
Yeah.
crew. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, here we are.
My people.
How's it going?
Good. How are you? Missed
Yeah,
you
pretty
last week,
good.
Andrea?
Yeah,
Was
we
I not
did.
on here last week?
No.
Yeah, you
No.
didn't hear my whole affirmative action, equal employment opportunity spiel.
That was a good one. We had a good show.
Oh,
Wish we were there. But
Are you
you're here now.
sure?
Yeah, you're here now. That's what counts.
I don't know if I believe that. I'll have to go check the tape. I'm pretty sure I was there.
We are probably going to end up with a pretty full show tonight with a lot of people. So, what I would like to do is talk about something really quickly at the top that I think is important, but also that we touched on before. And this is like a follow up to that. We talked
Okay.
about libs of TikTok and their horrendous attitude toward trans rights and trans bills that are being supported. So what I wanted to do quickly, and let's do this. Hey, Dan from the internet. How's it going, Dan?
Well, Dan, long time no see.
Good to see ya.
Like 20
Too
minutes.
long, too much no see. No, good to be with
Okay.
you.
So check it out. I want to play this quick
see.
video from Aaron Reed of Aaron in the Morning, and then I want to tell people what they can do. So let's watch this. Hold on, let me make sure I'm in the right setup.
We need to talk about something called the terrorist's veto and what is going on in the Maine legislature targeting transgender people, as well as what you can do to help the situation. So, the terrorist's veto is a term that is being used to describe what happens whenever a large anti-trans account, like Libs of TikTok, decides to blast a bill to all of their followers, and immediately afterwards, that legislature gets bomb threats. These threats that have flooded the inboxes of representatives and senators have led to some of these bills that protect trans people being put on the back burner out of fear. And let's just say that if all of these threats are enough to scare senators and representatives, how do they think that affects us as transgender people? So there's a bill in Maine, the Transgender Sanctuary Bill, that would essentially protect trans people who are fleeing anti-trans states from out-of-state prosecution and invasive demands on their medical records. And this bill has a lot of support within the Democratic Party, but right on cue, Libs of TikTok is targeting them, and the Maine legislature is getting bomb threats. So what can you do? Well, if you are in Maine, you've got a really perfect opportunity to contact your representatives. Look up My Reps Data Made, and you can find your local representatives. You can contact them and let them know that you support the trans sanctuary law. And even if you are not in Maine, they are sending people from all over the country. They're sending emails to these legislators, trying to scare them from passing these laws. But if you're from a state where things are hard, you can let them know how important laws are to allowing people to leave those states if they so want to. And if you're from a state where they already have one of these laws, which there are 15 of these states, you can let them know how much it has meant to your local trans people to have those protections. I have a list of legislators that you can contact. I'll drop them right here. And thank you so much for fighting for transgender people. We can't let the terrorist veto win.
Boom.
Okay, and you can also see that list on her tweet, which I just made the pinned chat in my chat. I also retweeted this. This is from yesterday, so if you go to Aaron Reed, Aaron in the Mornings, or of the Morning, their Twitter page, you will be able to find this. I also put this on my Discord. Now, I already emailed all of these people telling them that I support LD 227 and to make Maine a sanctuary state. And so I typed out all of these emails. They're in my Discord. Real easy copy and paste. This costs you nothing. Now, I know Jake coined the term what you can do. Apparently, he didn't copyright it, and everyone's using it now. But this is what you can do, okay? You can email these legislators, and you can let them know that you support this. I said, I'm in South Carolina. I see these kinds of laws happening all the time. I see it happening everywhere. I support Maine being a sanctuary state. Please don't back down. Because that
All right.
terrorist veto, that is a new term that I'm going to be using a lot. That is a real
Yeah.
thing.
Okay.
And so, anyway, just wanted to get that out there.
Mhm. I'm
you
so
know.
happy I'm in New York. At
Yeah.
least for now.
So anyway, I hope everyone takes part. I know we have a really groovy audience, and they'll do that. And so yeah, so we're here. This is Left Past 10 ad-free live show, right? And
Yes.
so that's cool.
2 + 2 = 4.
Annie's in my chat. She's going to be with us any minute.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Our special guest.
so I want to do the proper intro. We have Annie Fitzgerald on the show tonight, who is running in Washington's 38th legislative district. I will let them do a more formal introduction. It's cool that a lot of people know Annie, though, from the chats. So
Yeah.
no stranger to the show. Might as well just say friend of the show. It's Annie Fitzgerald. Annie, how are you?
Hey, Annie.
Howdy.
I'm so excited.
Hi.
So
How's
Annie,
everybody doing?
we're great. Let me just quickly introduce you. I know you know Sandy of Environmental Coffee House, Jake of
Mhm.
What You Can Do, Andrea of Above It All, and then also here's Dan from the
Dan!
internet, special
oh
guest.
my gosh, I am such a big fan. Oh
See?
my goodness.
That makes
it's
sense.
so happy. I'm
It's great to hear from you.
I'm speechless.
This is the most people we've ever had on a Left Past 10 or any show. Well, no, I've had more people on my own show, but this is pretty cool. So why don't you take a minute to introduce yourself formally, tell everyone about your campaign and anything you would like to say about what you're running on.
Well, my name is Annie Fitzgerald, and I am running for a state house seat in Washington's 38th district, which covers Marysville, Everett, and the Tulalip Reservation in the Pacific Northwest. We are approximately 40 minutes or so, depending on traffic, north of Seattle. I forgot to mention my pronouns are she, her.
She, her, okay.
I
Hold on, let's wait and see if we can
am
get Annie back.
on. Uh-oh.
No, you
Are we
froze
here?
for a
You're
second,
back.
so just back up like 5 seconds.
Okay.
It cut off at your
So-
pronouns are she, her.
Yeah, she, her.
Okay, pronouns are she, her. My roommate is playing a video game downstairs, so
Oh,
that might
might
be
be it.
why.
Tell them nothing goes on during a show.
Yeah.
Gotta get that fiber.
I
Just
know,
the
right?
fact that you have a roommate makes me want to vote for you. You actually
pro
are living
roommate.
life out here with the rest of us. Do go on, please.
So I am part of the LGBTQ community, and I am also physically disabled. And I am running because I feel like Washington needs disabled representation desperately. Desperately. There are no disabled elected officials or openly disabled elected officials in Washington state, and that needs to change. And there are several issues that I'm running on. Disability justice being a big part of it. I really don't think it gets talked about enough in progressive circles. We talk about everything else. We talk about labor. We talk about climate change. We talk about other progressive values, but we don't talk about disability. And so I am running in hopes that we can open up that dialogue, because there are approximately 1 million or more disabled people in Washington state out of the 8 million that are not being represented. And
Wow.
Very good.
so that needs to change.
I wholeheartedly agree as a person who has disabilities. So there you go.
Are you running
Uh,
against any incumbents then? Because it's a primary race,
Oh,
right?
yes. Yes, I have. So I have not declared which incumbent I'm running against yet. But I could be up against two. Mary Fossey, is one. Oh, and both the incumbents have only been, in their seats for about a year, so they're pretty new. Um, Mary Fossey is one. She is fairly progressive on a lot of things, not so much on other things. Um, and then the other is Julio Cortez. Oh, by the way, they're both Democrats. Julio Cortez is more establishment. I
Okay.
would not necessarily call him a progressive. Um, they both are employed by the city of Everett. So, Mary Fossey is on the Everett City Council, which I just came from their meeting. And Julio Cortez works for the mayor's office. And one of the things that, as a constituent, it kind of disturbs me a little bit, because I'm gonna talk a little smack for a second. Um, it like I worry about there being a conflict of interest, between their jobs, working for the city of Everett versus the district, and uh Mary Fossey almost lost her seat, because she had not, to my understanding, is that she had not been attending all the city council meetings. She missed quite a few. And she was at the one I attended tonight, and she was at the one that was last week that I attended. But prior to that, she hadn't attended one in like a month, and they have
Jeez.
them weekly. So,
Did she say why?
I don't know if it was because the legislation was in session. That could be why. I'm not entirely sure. But it concerns me that there could be a potential conflict of interest there if you have to be, if the house is in session in Olympia, which is, I mean, physically speaking, that is a good like 60 some miles away, so that's like easily a 2-hour drive. So I mean, she has attended meetings remotely before, but that's a little concerning. Like,
Do
what if
they?
there's something that comes up that's good for the city of Everett, but maybe not so good for the district? That's
Yeah,
what
like
I'm concerned about.
it would be one thing if they were like, I missed it, but guys, don't worry, I have somebody there who's reporting back to me. But
Right.
like, are they even doing that? Here's something. I had a candidate on Monday for an interview, and they were saying that their opposition doesn't even know they exist. What's the
Oh, I'm
case
sure
with?
they don't know I exist. Well,
Oh.
Do they know they're
she
being
knows that I
primaried or?
exist. I don't know if they know that they're being primaried yet, but they do know that I exist because I met with both of them in person on February 20th. It's been exactly a month. I'll show you guys. I have these bracelets that I picked up on Advocacy Day that was put on by the Washington Coalition for Peace and Justice. It was exactly 1 month ago yesterday. There was a rally, and we got to at the state capitol in Olympia. We got to go to the rally, which was fantastic. Oh my gosh, it was so fantastic. There were such amazing speakers. We all sat in the pouring rain. It was great. And then we got to meet with our representatives. So me and a friend of mine from Snohomish County DSA, because I'm a almost 5-year member of DSA,
Heck yeah.
we went and got to speak to both Mary Fossey and Julio Cortez. It was very interesting because I couldn't say anything that I was about running against them. I wasn't allowed to mention that. So so I was just showing up as a constituent, and
Okay.
we asked each of them to support a ceasefire and to you know like put it on their public profiles that they support a ceasefire and so on and so forth. Mary Fossey said something that will always stick with me. She said that when she became a legislator, she had to take her activist hat off. And
Mm.
that really
I don't like that.
bothered me.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
like that either.
I, as someone who had a very brief stint with California's official Democratic Party, and then this would have been back in 2015, the lead up to 2016. I shook hands with Joe Biden. I shook hands with Kamala Harris. This is when they were all trying to boost Hillary Clinton. And that was the same vibe that I got. Was like, hey, remember, you Berkeley College Dems, you're here because you're Dems. You're not here because you're from Berkeley. Shut it. Right? Like that was the same vibe I got. But I'm sorry, I can't help myself as I do a little production switch, so please don't mind me. Also, folks who are watching, you can support Annie's campaign over Venmo by doing at Annie-M-Fitzgerald, Annie-M-Fitzgerald, or Cash App by Ask W Logic. Ask EW Logic.
Yeah,
Askew.
Askew Logic.
Askew Logic.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm censoring it. Sorry. One thing I really had to ask there, because Newsman Dan can't let the fact that you are from Everett, Washington, and noted Everett, Washington residents, the Boeing Corporation, are also there, and the Boeing Corporation, me and my pilot friend have a joke, if it's a Boeing, I ain't going. They're going through it a little bit. I'm team Airbus gang. I love me some Alaska Airlines up out in Seattle, but I'm JetBlue through and through, Southwest baby. And
How about no flying?
okay, well, JetBlue at least uses Airbus. I would love the no flying options, but because I need to get to New York in a reasonable amount of time, JetBlue, Airbus all the way. But
I'm on the Zeppelin team.
there's been I'm on Jay-Z's international Bring Back the Concorde personally, but
all right.
personal flight notwithstanding, do you have any sort of I think there's a pretty target-rich environment for a candidate outside of the Democratic Party establishment, which loves to give benefits to major American war corporations who get away with doing a lot of things, such as Boeing, and they love to give them credit. So I'd be really interested to hear what your response to that whole situation is.
Wow. So, I think it's crazy. There have been multiple protests against Boeing in Seattle. In fact, there was one. So Boeing was having an like their annual meeting or whatever. I don't even know what they were doing. I don't even care. But they were having their meeting like I think it was like maybe a week or two ago, and there were so many people protesting in Seattle that they actually moved the meeting online. So they lost thousands and thousands of dollars
Wow.
paying for the venue that they were going to have the meeting at. And I thought that was fantastic.
Hmm.
And
Running
then
from the peasants.
and then there was a meeting like a like one of those like champagne social events that was being held at the Museum of Light that was protested as well. I know a few people that went to that protest, and it's great. Um, and I do volunteer in DSA with a couple of Boeing employees, so we are privy to some of the information going on, with their union and so on and so forth. But I honestly, I can't really speak too much on it because I don't know a lot of the details, um, but screw Boeing. Like,
Well, yeah, but
like,
you have to
Thank-
remember a lot of their employees are gonna live in your district, so
that's
it's
true.
all about
That's
the
very true.
employees.
I
It's about
support the
them.
employees.
Yeah.
The ones
I
who are still
support the
alive, yes.
employees.
Yeah. I do have one
Yes,
question.
yes.
Annie, is there a petition process where you have to get your enough signatures to get on to even be a primary?
Yes. So the process in Washington is you have to get at least about like the minimum is like 650, so they say about 700, or you can pay a fee. Because I only have about 2 months before I need
Oh, shit.
to like apply to get on the ballot, to get on the
Mhm.
primary ballot.
Mhm.
I'm probably gonna go with the fee. That's why I need donations.
All right.
How
So
much is
there's
the
a
fee?
fee. Mm.
Yeah, how much?
Yes. The fee is about $650, which isn't too bad.
Okay.
But I also, am gonna need to create flyers, create, yard signs, do all that kind of stuff as well. So if people, can donate, please donate. I'm just asking people for small dollar donations. I am not taking any corporate PAC money or anything of that nature at all. Um, so so yes, small dollar donations would be fantastic.
All right.
And you have
There
2
is-
months?
2 months, yes,
Okay.
approximately. Well, a little under 2 months now, but yeah, I have to apply to get on the ballot in early May.
Do you
so-
have volunteers that could help you get petitions signed?
I'm working on that.
Okay. Good. Well,
Um,
hopefully that's going to happen.
Yes.
There-
I'm really hopes I hope so. I'm trying to ask people to volunteer at least, because like for me, one of the things that I'm unable to do due to my physical disability is things like door knocking and flyering and things like that. And because especially in Everett, a lot of the homes and the buildings and stuff are very old, so not exactly disability friendly.
Okay.
So I'm trying to gather volunteers for that right now too.
All right,
So-
that's good. You know,
Yeah.
back in 2018, I interviewed a candidate from Washington State, and her name escapes me now. She did not win, but we had quite a bit of a conversation about Hanford and the nuclear waste and the illness around there. But that's not your district.
No. No.
okay.
Hanford is in Eastern Washington.
Yeah, that's where she
My
was running.
district is Western Washington.
Okay.
um,
Thank you for
yeah.
clarifying.
Yeah. I don't really know much about Hanford.
But your district just did some positive redistricting, didn't they?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I was reading that they just because there's all these little and they look like little islands on the map in the northwestern corner, and it looked like they weren't a part of the district, and now they are. So man, that's kind of a
um,
good thing for you, right?
well,
More
my
votes.
district is actually pretty small.
Okay.
It really does just comprise um Marysville, all of the Tulalip Reservation, and most of Everett. So like the northern and central part of Everett. It kind of cuts off like about halfway through Everett. It's going south. So yeah,
So you
yeah.
know what they always say, newcomers, new candidates who are not part of the system in some way or not part of the establishment somehow always need to run twice almost, right? Like you have to count on running twice. Like if for some reason you don't get it this first time, like
Hmm.
you go next time you hit the ground running, you can
Yeah, and
run based on previous experience. Are you prepared for that? Is
oh
that the
sure.
plan? Oh, okay.
Like I I'm going into this with the attitude of, obviously I want to win because I want to push for the issues that I care about. There's a term that I learned recently that I really like, I feel like it fits me well, called revolutionary optimism. Um so it was in this magazine called In These Times. I don't know if you guys have heard of
Oh
it,
yeah.
but
It's been around a long
Must like
time.
highly
yes,
recommended viewing for
yes.
radicals.
Like
Yes.
uh-huh.
So revolutionary optimism is a adjective or a noun. It is the belief that a better world is possible through political struggle, and especially that participating in the struggle is itself transformational.
Mm.
And I feel like that really fits me to a T because I'm going into this race like hopeful and planning to win, but if I don't, that's okay. Like I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to stop trying because um
God.
like there are other races that I could run in. There will be an open Senate seat in 2026. There is I could run for Marysville School Board next year. The school board here in Marysville is an absolute disaster right now. Um and they need they need better leadership. So there are plenty of opportunities for me that I could do even if I don't win this particular race.
You have a
But
great attitude. I like
Even if you
that.
yeah,
don't,
I really try to. I really
even if
try
you
to.
even if you don't win the race, you're still going to learn how to do it. You might not get the belt, but you're going to learn how to box better. I think
Mhm.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. And it's an opportunity to like show the community that I genuinely care
Yes.
about the issues, cuz I mean there's a lot of things that are um happening in our community right now that are just really just destroying this community. Homelessness is a massive problem in our community. I spoke about that at the Everett City Council meeting tonight. Um, can I share about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure, please
Go
do.
for it.
Yes.
So, so last week I attended remotely. I attended the Everett City Council meeting, and there was this man there. His name is Lane, and he was there to a homeless man, and he was there to speak about his own situation and the situation of his friends. He was being constantly harassed by police. He just wanted somewhere where he could, safely exist and have, access to a restroom and, um, he was just constantly being harassed by police and citizens and whatnot. And he was just there, you know, talking about his experience and representing his friends. And like, his testimony really touched me because I've been homeless in Everett. 20 years ago, I was homeless in Everett, so I know what that's like. And I couldn't sleep that night after his testimony. I just could not get him out of my mind. So I went back, and he had been speaking at almost every meeting, and they're held every week for months, asking for help for him and his friends. And when it was time for them to respond last week, my opponent mentioned a program and, you know, was like, let's try to get this man some help. But I kind of feel like they missed the point because he wasn't just there to advocate for himself, he was there to advocate for his friends. And so I decided, after like watching all of the times that he spoke, that I was going to speak up on his behalf this week. And that's exactly what I did.
Okay.
And I asked the city to provide them with a safe place to exist. I asked, the city recently purchased an old motel in the area called the Wait Motel. And there was several like people from the homeless community living there that are now going to have to relocate.
Oh.
So it was just really sad, and I was really disappointed because I was hoping that, you know, they would understand and they would get the point tonight that like this person has community support and that we want him to be safe, we want him to be housed. And nobody, not a single one on the city council, spoke up and said anything.
Nothing. Wow.
Nothing. Nothing.
Is your area, the cost of living, evidently, it's Washington State, is quite high.
Oh, it's very high.
Yeah.
So I live in a 2-bedroom townhouse that I share with roommates. And our rent is not too bad. It's around $1,500. However, we've been here for a long time, so I think that kind of plays a part in it.
Yeah.
But average rent in this area is anywhere between $1,600 to $2,000 or more, depending
How
on
anybody
how
does it.
close you get to Seattle.
Wow.
It's just incredibly high. Cost of living here is really high. The homeless population is growing because you know, people just can't afford it.
Right.
The minimum wage recently went up, but it's only $16.28 an hour statewide. There is an initiative that's being worked on right now to raise the minimum wage in Everett to $22 an hour. And I you know, am going to be speaking to the person who's running that tomorrow. But yeah, like it's crazy, and you know, there needs to be much more affordable housing. And it's really sad because I was born and raised in this area, and so it's really sad to see this kind of thing happening.
How do you respond to politicians and pundits who equate houselessness with criminality?
Being homeless is not a crime. Like you know, it infuriates me to no end because um, most homeless people work. Most homeless people are just trying to exist. They're just trying to survive. They're just trying to live. They're not there to hurt other people. Yet, instead of, you know, getting help from people like social workers, they're just constantly harassed by police. There is like hostile architecture, especially in Seattle. Um, Seattle is really bad about that. And it's starting to become an issue in Everett. Um, and it we're going in the wrong direction. Like more and
Yeah.
more places are criminalizing homelessness, and we're really taking it in the wrong direction, and that really disturbs me. And I want to see more incentive for developers to build more affordable housing units. Um, because I recently saw a report um online, and they were talking about how developers were building like these luxury skyscraper, like with like hundreds of units or whatever, and but nobody was buying them, nobody was occupying them.
It's just,
And
it's
yeah,
infuriating. It's just
yeah,
infuriating.
yeah, yeah, and it's like, well, no wonder you guys are losing money. Like
Yeah.
you're doing this at your own peril. Like why not turn those units into affordable housing, and then you would get them like filled up. Like it makes no
The
sense to
frustrating
me.
thing is they've turned a real industry that existed for a purpose into a game. This real estate industry, the buying
Mhm.
and selling of land, you can agree or disagree with whether or not that in and of itself is right, but it did have a point. It was to
Right.
prevent us from slaughtering each other over that land. But they've turned it into a game to the point now where we're not buying a skyscraper with any plan for it. We're buying a skyscraper so you can
Yeah.
own a skyscraper and tell a bank that you own a skyscraper and then collect
Mhm.
a giant loan based on the assumed value of that. And nothing's actually happening in terms of work getting done or people having needs met. The only thing that's happening is some rich motherfucker is growing their
Yeah.
bank account. It's maddening.
Mhm. Mhm.
How do the
Uh,
people in your area feel about building home, lower income accessible housing? Because I know that a lot of times the residents don't want that because they're worried about their own home values, and that's a problem.
mhm.
And I'm wondering if you're seeing that where you live. And it's
Well, people like I've been on Section 8. I've lived in low income housing. People often like have that old stereotype that kind of associates low income with riffraff, with they're the ones committing all of the crimes, see, like it's it's really disgusting. And I think it's a really old stereotype because when I was living in low income housing, it was families. It was mostly
yeah, sure.
families. And, families with young kids just struggling to get by. And um I think that most people, I haven't had a chance to really talk about this too much with other people in the area, but I feel like most people like understand this, and they understand that, like, uh because more and more people are being added to this pool that's considered low income, right? you know because more and more people are having problems making ends meet. Um i i think the statistic is that like the average American household can't afford a $500 or a $400 emergency.
Yep.
So like it's very real, and I feel that most people understand this. I think some older generations may still be kind of holding on to that stereotype, but I feel like a lot of the people I talk to are in similar situations, so they kind of understand because it is so expensive in this area. And, you know, like when Amazon came in, like, 15 plus years ago, uh, Seattle became unaffordable. So people started moving north. They started moving south. So I feel like that stereotype that low income housing brings about riffraff and all that is such an old played out stereotype, and I'm hoping that more people will learn that, like, that's just not true. um
Thank
I
you.
understand.
yeah.
It's a
I don't-
big, it's such a big global, United States issue.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the localities can't do it all by themselves, obviously.
No. But at the same time, like, I was really surprised when, like, there were multiple people that spoke about the Wait Motel tonight. There were, you know, me, I spoke about the homeless situation, and Lane did. Lane was there again tonight too, and nobody said anything. It's like, you
Like in
guys know
reply,
that
you
this
mean?
is a
They didn't
huh?
respond. They didn't take
They
time
didn't
to respond at
respond.
all. Hmm.
What did they purchase
No,
the motel for? Like, are they just gonna tear it down or something, or what?
I'm not sure. I need to do a little more research into that. I had just heard that it had been purchased and that people had been, were living there, were being told that they had to leave. And I believe that they are being offered, like, some money to leave, but, like, giving them a check, like, doesn't really help. Like, they need housing, they need somewhere to go. And because housing is so expensive, because moving is so expensive, it could easily set somebody back like $6,000 or more just to move. It's
Wow.
crazy.
Wow.
When you factor in, like, first, last, and deposit and all that, it's incredibly expensive.
Mm.
And I don't know anybody that can afford that.
Dan
So,
actually inspired me to pitch a piece of legislation to you. I didn't know that Boeing was in your neck of the woods. I've been trying to get people in my neck of the woods with Ford and GM to do this, but you would have every right to as well. So since you're going to be the one, hopefully, writing these things, here's my pitch to you. Help
okay.
reduce costs for folks by building free energy infrastructure, including solar panels and wind farms, and charge the people who use the most fossil fuels for it. In your case, Boeing. That's how you pay for it. Pitch made.
That's
I realize that's like telling a comedian, you know what would be a funny joke? But there you go.
Not a bad idea. Uh, I do know that, like, the public utility district that does electricity does offer, like deals for people to get, like, solar power and stuff in my area. Um but it's for homeowners. So
Right.
and there are fewer and fewer homeowners in my area because the cost of living is so high. So um like, it's really mostly, like, older generations that can afford housing or have had homes
Oh,
in
yeah.
this area. So
Well, anybody with an electric bill, homeowners,
yeah.
business owners. I realize those are still owners of things, but there is such a thing as small businesses and people who rent apartments who are right on the verge. An extra 15, $20 a month I'm just saying it makes
Mhm.
it also establishes the idea that energy is a public service and reminds people that it can truly be received for free if
Mhm.
only we invest in the infrastructure, which is the government's job to do.
I think
Nationalize it.
I think
Boom.
Dan from the interstate had a question.
Yes. You've
Flying
caught me in the
J. Whew,
you've caught me in the
wow.
intersection between I want to be on this show and I also desperately needed to do grocery shopping tonight. But nevertheless, he persisted and I'm doing both. Either way, the question that I wanted to ask was actually about like, listen, I actually really appreciate that Left Past 10 is having a local candidate or a constituent on the show, right? Like someone who exists in local politics, because I've always had a thesis that like we pay too much attention to national politics to our detriment because there's so much more change you can do on a local level if it's focused and if it's thought out right. And so I know, given you're a really great advocate for folks with disabilities and their rights, I understand that like you may not have had like, the canvassing direct experience to like, speak with people on the ground, which is so useful. But, knowing that I think you have a better sense of the pulse than the establishment Democrats or the establishment leaning Democrats that you're leaning
Yeah, it
towards.
sounds like it to
Um,
me.
yeah, I feel like that as well. I'm curious, like, what are some of your solutions that you're having to these problems of like, okay, when we go back to rhetoric around the unhoused, I I've really appreciated in where I'm from in Los Angeles, for example, how you've had a leftist response to the homelessness crisis. Because on the right, you have people who are saying absolutely inhumane, terrible things about the population of unhoused people. I don't want to get letter hack censored from new platforms, but it's like that
Yeah.
level of stuff, like dehumanizing rhetoric towards
Mm.
people who are just a $400 emergency away from like, you or I, God bless, right? But
Yeah.
in that you have politicians in Los Angeles County from the left, thankfully, who are like, hey yo, why are these centrist Democrats keep misspending all of the money that we have appropriated towards these causes to provide services to the unhoused, not just by providing them homes, but that providing homes is not just enough. You need to provide homes as a stability point, but then also provide services to make sure that, okay, are you suffering from any tragic addictions? We got you. We have services. We can provide help for that. You have trouble looking for a job. Do you have trouble, getting your resume together? All right. Nobody's got you like we got you. We're finding that in Los Angeles, where you have Republicans and some more very feeble-minded Democrats fill in the lines where you want to, especially in Los Angeles, fill in the lines where you want to. You're having a lot of folks who are misunderstanding that you can be upset with Democrats misspending money towards, services that people all agree with. Yes, let's try to provide the unhoused more services. But then there's the next step of accountability. And how do you make sure that money gets spent accountably, not just in like it's going towards these programs that the mayor happens to have 1-800 kickbacks from, but going towards programs that are actually benefiting the lives of first and second and third and foremost people who are most suffering, but also the folks at the end of the day who feel like they're complaining about, oh, there's all these tents on my sidewalk. What's going on? This will solve all of those things. And so I pontificated there for a moment, but I'm really curious as I go off camera again to go in the store, but continue to listen to this wonderful, great conversation, is like, what are you hearing from folks in that vein of like, you're speaking past the cipher of national politics, so you might be able to hear from people in Everett, in the Seattle area, like, okay, here's how I really feel about houselessness, and it's not like the terrible right wing take. And then also like you propose that question of hopefully that message gets through, but I kind of want to pose that question to you as someone who's running for office, right? Like, what messages are you thinking about, or are you working through crafting to make sure that you can change some minds. You can reevaluate and reset the table for this crisis that we all see, but a lot of us are taking the wrong approach to, unfortunately, or at least a lot of our neighbors are.
Right, right. Well, like I said, I really think that like the first step is providing more affordable housing. Um, it, it's housing prices are out of control. We also need to do something to like reel in landlords. Because rent prices in this area have skyrocketed just in the last couple of years, which is leading to like the problem that we're having now with more and more people being homeless. In fact, so because I'm disabled, I qualify for Department of Vocational Rehabilitation Services, and I got to meet with my job coach today. And she was telling me about a story about how she came across a homeless couple, and in Woodinville, I believe it was, which is a kind of a rich, it's one of the more wealthy neighborhoods on the east side, because like Redmond is like where Microsoft is, and so like all
Right.
those surrounding areas are somewhat wealthy. um and she was talking to this couple, and um they were on the street, and this lady was describing how both her and her husband both have degrees, and they had just moved here 2 years ago, and they both have degrees, but they can't find work, and they are living out of their car. And I, I've heard so many stories like that recently. We we both went to school, we both have degrees, but we can't even afford to pay rent. We can't afford to, pay for our our bills. And you know, she she went and she got them some food at Wendy's, and kind of sat and like listened to her speak for a little bit. And stories like that are becoming more and more common. Um, and so I really feel that like we need to provide more incentives for landlords with existing housing units, um, to lower rents and to offer more affordable housing options. We need to provide developers that are building with more incentives to provide more affordable housing options. We also need to provide the support that Dan was mentioning. Um, the
Um,
the I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to ask you about the existing housing stock in the district you're running. And is it
Mhm.
possible that instead of building and keep building out more and more and using more land and resources, is it possible that there could be a way to, like you said, they were building apartments that were ridiculous, renovating, changing, or reusing? How's the housing stock? And what do you think of that idea?
Um, I I do believe that, that's why I was kind of thinking along the lines of, you know, I'm no expert in this area. I'm just coming up with ideas.
Which is good.
As as
Better than what we
someone
currently
who's
have.
been in similar circumstances. But I do think that, providing more incentives to landlords to offer more affordable rent options would be good, because there are a lot of existing structures that are not being used, or are being renovated or whatever. Um, but I also want to touch on a little bit about some of the things that Dan was talking about. like as far as like offering assistance for people for other things like um employment um and and oh sorry, I was just getting a message from my roommate. And for offering employment services for um making sure that people are able, once they do get into housing, making sure, checking back with them, making sure that they're able to get employment so that they can maintain the housing, providing uh you know um medical services. The social safety net programs in the state absolutely need to be reformed. um they are they're a joke, if I'm going to be honest with you. It's really bad. We need to be offering people better health care. We need to be providing support. Once that housing is established, there needs to be more support after that point. And I, you know, we do have, social safety nets. We do have like Apple Health and other programs, but the problem is that the income like limit is so low that you have to be pretty much like dirt poor living on the streets to qualify for any of these services. Like the income limit that I was told to get to get state health care, so Medicaid, and to qualify for things like food assistance, because I recently applied because my health care was cut, was like $900. And in a state where rent is easily almost double that, like, that's nothing.
Right.
And it doesn't make
And
any sense because, like, why would they even offer insurance if you're going to be really poor living like on the street? You're more likely to get sick or injured or attacked or assaulted or whatever that would make you go to the hospital system and therefore spend more money, right? It's a backward system that doesn't make any sense, and it keeps people like stuck in positions of like weakness, and it's just by design. They just want people
mhm.
to be stuck at the bottom and have no mobility upwards.
Yeah, can I talk about that for a minute?
Go for it.
Sure.
So, I know about this firsthand. So I am disabled, and I was on a Medicare Advantage plan until December of last year with Humana. Boo, 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 Humana.
Most of them.
And they dropped me because I allegedly moved, which I hadn't moved. I've been at the same address for 11 years. I think they dropped me for other reasons, but they dropped me, and I did not find out until the middle of January when I was trying to get my prescriptions and realized
Oh, jeez.
when the pharmacy told me I did not have a Medicare Advantage plan or prescription coverage. So, I
Wow.
like immediately called Humana, and instead of listening to me, they within a few days put me back on the plan, which is not what I wanted. Um and so like I didn't know that they had put me back on the plan. So I applied for Medicaid. I applied for Medicaid and I applied for food assistance. I got $22 in food assistance. My income is I live on SSDI, so my income is $15.80 a month. My rent is a third of my income, more than a third of my income, and I have to survive the rest of the month with, less than $1,000. Um and I make it work. But my medical expenses are very high. And so I was also applying for long-term care services so that I could get help with things in my home, like doing household chores, uh, running errands, possibly even getting a ride to like doctor's appointments and stuff. So I don't have to like exert myself all the time, because that makes my disabilities worse. Um, and I went through the interview process. I was told that I was financially qualified for one program, but I was not functionally qualified. And then the other program, I was functionally qualified, but not financially. So I made too much money at $15.80 a month. Um, and so I was told that I qualified for a program known as the Spend Down program. And I recently found out what that is. It is a program where I have a really, really big deductible that I essentially have to pay upfront before Medicaid will cover any services. And I have been trying to reach my social worker about this for about a week and a half. When I spoke to the lady at the 1-800 number, I was like, what's the point of this program? People applying for Medicaid don't have money to put into our medical care. Like, what is the point of this program? Like, does anybody actually use this? Like, I don't understand this. Um, and like that's a huge problem for me personally because I have multiple specialists that I need to see. I'm
Mm.
in the process of like I've spent like the last 6 months trying to get a new wheelchair because the last time I was on an airplane flight, uh my wheelchair was damaged. So I need a new one.
They don't pay for that?
No.
That's
No.
insane.
No.
That's
This
a
is-
medical, a necessary medical device.
Yeah, what are they like? Oh,
This
sorry.
is this is a
it.
huge problem for people who use wheelchairs and medical devices that fly. They do not secure them in the cargo hold because that's basically where it ends up. And my wheelchair got knocked around and the frame got bent and the footrest got damaged. They fixed the footrest, but the frame itself could not be repaired. It was like bent in such a way that it could break at any point,
Oh, I'm
and
so
then I
sorry.
would be out of a wheelchair. So I desperately need a new wheelchair. And that is a very common problem for people with disabilities. That happens a
speaks-
lot.
It speaks to the setup of our system where it's clearly
Yeah.
not the things that exist to help us clearly do not exist with the actual well-being of citizens in mind. They exist because they were wrung out of a system which tries to get away with giving us as little as possible while siphoning
Mhm.
as much of the fruits of the labor to the people who need it least, the rich. It's
Right.
maddening.
It is absolutely infuriating because like especially with things like the income limit allowed and stuff like that, that is so incredibly low. Like I'm pretty sure it probably hasn't been updated. Also the system that they use to determine whether you qualify for services or not is all determined by AI. It is not decided by a human being. So when I went and I met with the social worker, she inputted all my information into the computer. And then what happens is they go and they put that into their computer and AI spits out a determination and it determines whether someone is eligible or not. It is not decided by a human being. There so like there's
And if
no
we actually cared, we would put a
Yeah.
human being there who could use logic, who could say, no, this person, I'm writing a much bigger bill for them. We need this, and this. And oh, by the way, that human being occupying that would be paid. It would be another job that exists out there.
Right.
But it just points to the callousness of the system we live in. And by the way, that's why I think we need more disabled folks representing us.
Right. And the other thing is that it's a program, it's a system that is not designed to help people get out of the system.
Yes.
So, like, once you start receiving services, the allowable income that you're allowed to make, whether it's from Social Security, whether it's from employment, the limits are so low
Yep.
that once you start making money, so like if I was able, like, I'm applying for work now. That's why I have a job coach. If I was to find a job and start making money, I would run the risk of losing services. And because I'm only allowed to make about $2,000 a month. So it's I'm constantly having to weigh whether I stay with services or do I take that risk and try and find, gainful employment. I want to work. I want to, like, I want to be feel like I'm a contributing member of society, even though I know that I am in other ways. Like, we put so much emphasis on people's ability to work. And, so people that can't work feel like they're not, a contributing member. I think that might be one of the reasons why I decided, I got into volunteer work, is because I felt like I wasn't doing enough for my community because I couldn't work. And don't get me wrong, I love being a volunteer. I love volunteering in my community and helping my community however I can. But it puts a lot of pressure on disabled people because I have a friend right now who his name is Steve, and he went to school for many, many years to become a social worker. He is also disabled, and his wife is disabled. So, and he knows disability justice like the back of his hand. He is so knowledgeable. He's conservative, so we don't agree on everything, but we do agree on a lot of disability issues. He is struggling to try and find a job in social services. He wants to work as a social worker. However, he was told that if he started working as a social worker, that he would not only put his own services in jeopardy, but his wife's services in jeopardy. Oh no, we lost me.
That's
Am
okay.
I
We still hear
here?
you.
We hear
Yeah,
you.
Okay.
I can hear you. Just can't see it.
Okay.
Well,
And that's the thing about it, though, is they wanted you to keep you in a position that you can't actually advance anywhere, and that any sort of movement you make is like a huge risk, and it's just more likely to keep you dependent on a system that keeps you in a position of weakness against, who's to say you become a social worker and that becomes a very successful career and you make a lot of money, or you just barely make it by because, let's be honest, we don't really pay social workers enough money anyway. So it's it's
Yup.
just a ridiculous situation where, like you were saying, you're forced to volunteer if you just want to actually contribute in some way, right? And it would make more sense, to pay volunteers, right? But it's just they want to take advantage of you wanting to participate, and so you're doing things for free because if you did something for money, that would put you at a disadvantage, and it's not good.
That's a
Yeah, or
really
keep
good
the
Yeah,
point.
benefits
and
going for like a year after you get the job. Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
no, I really just want to say fast, it's a purely additive thing. I love this because this is the perfect systemic issue when it comes to social safety net programs, because they all exist, and we all end up backing centrist Democrats because we think, okay, we want these things to exist at the bare minimum. But there is a scholastic, like scholars have looked into this for decades, and I first learned about this in high school because I had a really great high school social studies teacher. But this stuck with me, the concept of the missing middle. It's folks exactly like you're describing who qualify for social services. They're doing okay, but not great because those social services are defunded by Republicans and Democrats. And those same Republicans and Democrats are like, oh, well, these social services are not meant to be what you're supposed to live on. What we actually want you to do is go out and do better for yourself. Catch 22, because
The
once you
bull.
start to do better for yourself, you no longer qualify for those services that were giving
Yeah.
you a leg up. And then all of a sudden you fall back down. And so you
boost.
either, you either follow the, one of many American lies, and you listen to this like pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality, or you don't and you get guilted for using the social safety net, when it's like you're saying, Andre, you made such a great point. It is systemically designed so that people are stuck. Disabled folks in poverty, folks who are in poverty and disabled, like it is such an insidious system. And like I rarely, on the left, unfortunately, rarely do we get to the crux of this conversation. So I just wanted to throw out that concept of the missing middle. That's that middle of people who are like making just enough money for social services, but not so much that they're actually out of poverty. So our system is literally failing them. I want people to like go and research that after watching the show, because that's such an important thing. More people need to know about it. Thank you so much, Andrea and Annie, for bringing it up.
Well,
Yeah.
I just gotta toss
I
this
just
there.
yeah.
We identify the problem as progressives. That's the thing progressives are really good at, is identifying the problem. Where I feel we lack is turning the conversation useful. So what is the solution? Let's say you get into office. How then do we fix this? Do you add, like, for example, a year grace period where once you're making enough money, you can make that money for the year and still get the benefits?
That already exists.
Okay, so
So
what's the solution? Why doesn't that work? Why is that insufficient?
Okay, so Social Security in particular has a program in place. So I want to first say that I have been on Social Security my entire adult life. I have had periods in my life where I have worked and been employed. But due to disabilities and illness and all that, those periods of employment have never lasted very long. I have almost always gotten sick, or needed surgery, or just disabilities, progressing, getting worse. So I've gone like back and forth on and off these programs. So Social Security has a program where they will give you like a 9-month grace period once you get employment. They give you a 9-month grace period where they will allow you to work, and they will not deduct your services.
Okay.
Once that 9-month grace period is up, then they, if you're still employed and all that, then they start talking about, okay, how much are you making? Is it, are you stable employed? They start talking about reducing the rate, reducing your services.
Okay.
So they kind of already have something like that. Frankly, I think the grace period needs to be much longer, and they
Yeah.
need to make it easier for disabled people to like reapply for services. If let's say I find a job tomorrow and I'm employed for, and I pass that 9-month grace period. Well, what happens if, a year and a half into that, I get sick again? Well, that means I have to
Yeah,
go through the
I know.
entire process all over again. I have to reapply for services. I have to reapply for Medicare because, my Medicare may or may not have been cut. I have to reapply for Social Security. I have to reapply for a program called Extra Help within Social Security, that helps cover the cost of prescription medications. Um, it's quite a headache, and it takes a lot of time because there are a lot of people applying for these services. So, it is not uncommon when I have to call Social Security to sit on hold for an hour and a half. Like, it can
And
take
yet,
a
and
really
yet,
long time.
if I wanted to go reactivate my Paramount Plus subscription, I would literally have to make 3 mouse clicks, and I could be giving money freely again. But to
Right.
get money, God help you if you want to get money.
Well, to get help. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a system, especially when you were employed and you became disabled. And then you have to go through the whole thing, and it takes years.
Yeah, it can take years.
I know, I lived
to
it.
go through this, as I'm sure you understand, Sandy.
This has been great. There's a lot of people in the chat giving their personal stories and relating to a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here, and it just really drives home the fact for me that more of our so-called representatives need to truly reflect the people they represent.
Yeah.
I think that's lacking, and so I wish you the best of luck, and anyone else
Thank
in
you.
your in your situation that's also running for office. I wish them the best. I think we just need a lot, because ironically, the government's made of millionaires, and they do kind of reflect the people that they are bought off by. So in a way, they reflect the people that they're serving, but that's totally wrong, and that's what's wrong with the problem. So, or wrong with the system. So, I do wish you the best of luck. Is there anything else
Thank
that you
you.
wanted to cover about like specific policies or issues
Yeah,
going on?
there's one more thing I could talk about. So, um, so one of the things that I'm going to be addressing tomorrow, because tomorrow I meet with the Marysville Public Works Director, and then after that meeting, I'm meeting with the man doing the initiative for raising the minimum wage in Everett. The reason why I'm meeting with the Marysville Public Works Director is because accessibility is a huge issue within the city of Marysville. There are not enough accessible sidewalks and ramps, and that's a huge problem. Many of the ramps in Marysville are not up to ADA code. And I about a month ago, I was going down a ramp in Marysville. My wheelchair got stuck. It was not a ramp that was up to code. My wheelchair got stuck and it flipped forward, and I accidentally fell out of my chair into the street. And there was a large truck coming, so I had to quickly get out of the way. Needless to say, I was very unhappy about this. So I went to the city council meeting because they had mentioned in a newsletter late last year that they had upgraded 90 sidewalk ramps up to code. And I thought, oh, that's great. But I mean, I wonder how many are not up to code. And
They don't tell you
so
that part.
no, they don't. And so I went to the city council meeting, by the way, in our brand new state of the art civic building that's only a couple years old, mind you. And when it was my turn to speak, I spoke about the little, article where they clearly admitted that they had been in violation of ADA for the last 10 plus years, and that they had only upgraded about 90 sidewalk ramps. And I asked, well, how many are there that aren't not upgraded?
Yeah.
Like, why is this not being taken care of? It turns out that there are so the public works guy came up and started speaking, but he wanted to speak to me out in the hallway. He didn't really want to say much on the record. So finally I was like, okay, fine, we'll go out into the hallway. He proceeds to tell me a story about how 20 years ago or so, when he was training, he got to sit in a wheelchair and go up and down a ramp, so he knows what my experience is like. And I was just like sitting there just flabbergasted, and I'm sitting there thinking, no, you don't. Like, you got to get up and walk away and never have to be in a wheelchair again. And he started to tell me about how there's 4,000 ramps in the city of Marysville, and they started this plan, and he wants me to take a look at the plan. It's on the city website, so on and so forth. Go take a look. We're handling it. So I went and I took a look at the plan. Turns out, there are 4,120 sidewalk ramps in the city of Marysville. And according to their plan, which was from March of 2020, which was supposed to be a 2 to 3 year plan, mind you, and this is also 10 years after the ADA law changed, to upgrade what's required for safe ramps. So they had been out of compliance for over 10 years.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
There were over 36,000 ramps that were non-compliant, according to their report.
There's probably
And
not enough
wait, how many?
compliance officers either. They're not hiring, and the budgets get slashed, and there's a lot of fear out there for a lot of people that lots of this might go away as well.
I missed the key part.
The
How
next
many
election.
are not
30
compliant?
3,000 over 3,600 that they admitted to out of 4,100. I
And they're
think
bragging
it's
about
higher.
90. Don't worry.
Yeah.
90 of these 4,100
Jeez.
are not death
Yeah.
traps. We have a full
I think it's
90.
yeah, I think it's higher. Just based on my experience driving around town and seeing ramps that are not up to code. So, you know how when you see a ramp and it's got like those raised like yellow bumps on it, they're usually yellow.
Mhm.
That's what they mean. Those are there for two purposes. So those are there to slow down wheelchairs going down a ramp. They're also there for like blind and visually impaired people, which I also have a visual impairment. So they're there to help alert like blind and visually impaired people when they're about to walk into the street. So it's very, very important that these bumps are there and that they are brightly colored. That's why they usually paint them yellow. So, and Marysville is a town that has a large retirement population. So there are quite a few elderly disabled people in this town. So I I was reviewing the report, in preparation for my meeting last week, and I sent them an email and I said, I've reviewed the report. I would like to meet with you. And I would prefer to do so before the next city council meeting on March 25th. Because I feel that this is really important. And if I do not hear from you, if I do not get to meet with you before March 25th, I will be going to that city council meeting and I will
Yes.
be exposing this report.
That's how to do it.
Because this report was written in 2020. It was supposed to be a 2 to 3 year plan. It is now exactly 4 years later this month that they published this report. So, yeah, so I'm going to be meeting with the public works director tomorrow, the same guy that
Yes.
told me that he got to play in a wheelchair.
Mm,
And we're
God.
we're gonna have a little chat
People.
and find
You
out
know what?
more about why they're not fixing it.
If he pulls that again, ask him to hold out a milk jug at arm's length and ask him how long he can keep it there. And tell him that's being in a wheelchair.
Yeah, and you can't
you
go
held
around.
out a milk jug for 10 seconds and said you
Yeah, maybe
understand.
I'll
You don't.
stand up and be like, "You wanna take a spin in my chair?"
Right.
Like,
Yeah, do it for a month. Go
yeah.
nowhere except with the wheelchair for a month and then tell me.
Well, what people don't understand is that not having accessibility limits people with disabilities. It makes it
Yeah.
near impossible for people with disabilities to go out into the world and participate. A lot of people with disabilities have extreme difficulty leaving their homes. I too sometimes have that problem.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't have to be worried about whether a public place, is wheelchair accessible. We shouldn't have to be calling ahead of time to check to see if somewhere is accessible. It just should be. Like, we
Yeah.
have laws in place to provide, these protections for us. But unfortunately, it's not paid attention to enough, and it's often ignored by people in power.
If I win the lottery, I'm going to make a protest building that you can literally only get into if you're on a wheelchair. It's going to be like a free theme
Protest
park.
building. A protest building.
That's good. Well,
That's
there's
an
lo-
interesting. I want to talk about that like situation that you described, because like I find every aspect of that to be extremely like well choreographed and scripted. Like, you wanted to ask a question, so they make you go to the hallway, then they send you on a side quest to go read this plan. Like, every step, it's like an
Yeah.
insurance company. There's going to be like X% of people that just like don't go home and look at the plan, or look at the plan but don't understand how to read the plan
Yeah.
or interpret the plan,
Well,
right?
a lot of it was in legalese, so
Yeah.
like, and they post it on the city website. So I found that really shocking that they basically admit on the city website that they haven't been in ADA compliance.
Yep.
Like,
But no one
'Cause they
reads
weren't
it, and they
expecting
bank
you.
on no one to actually
Yeah.
like look into it and be able to look like and understand it, right? So,
mhm.
and yeah, if it's been that way for 4 years, right, then seemingly no one has actually. So it's like a mission accomplished kind of thing. And every time people even start to make a stink about it, right? Like, you got to go to the hallway. You don't want anyone else to hear this conversation, right? So it's just every step of that just seems like some trash
Well,
stuff.
and yeah, and it was like obvious that he didn't want it to be recorded, because all city council meetings are recorded and they are filmed. So it was kind of obvious that he did not want to be on the record, so to speak, about what was going on. And
Gotcha.
so, yeah.
I meant to ask, was that City of Everett? Is that what it is? The City of Everett?
No, this is city of Marysville,
Okay.
Washington.
Okay.
How many people are in the district that you're running?
Oh gosh. So I don't have an exact figure,
But it's
but
pretty
I
big.
do know that it is a lot, thousands, because
Mm.
Everett is one of the largest cities in the state. So is very heavily populated. It's like, I believe it's the largest city in Snohomish County, the county in which I'm in.
Okay.
So
So I'm sure
yeah.
that there's a sizable population of disabled people that
Oh,
really could use
absolutely.
an advocate like you, which I want to thank you for doing that. Listen,
Yes.
guys, I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to
Yeah.
leave the show on. Okay. I'm going to leave the show on for everybody else, but I as I have disabilities, I cannot sit any longer.
No, do what you gotta do.
Everybody knows. So I'm going to
Understandable.
say good night, Annie. You're a pleasure. And I
Thank
really
you.
do. I wish you all the best. And
Thank
good
you.
night, Andrea, Jake, everybody. And guys, I'm
Love you,
leaving the
Sandy.
show on. I
See ya,
love
my
you guys
friend.
too. I cannot sit
All
any
right.
longer.
Bye,
Mwah.
Sandy.
Bye.
Bye, Sandy.
So there's links to support Annie in the description of this video. It's pinned in my chat. Her Twitter account is also in the description of this video. Let's get her on the ballot. The primary
Yes, please help me
is
get on the ballot.
the primary itself is August 6th, but you need to get on the ballot before that. So
Yes, I
You
need
know,
to
if-
be. I need to submit a request to be on the ballot in early May. So I've got about 6 weeks to raise some funds. So I feel like leftists were not very good about asking for money, but I'm about to ask for money. If y'all in the chat could please consider donating like $10-$20 to my
Could you
campaign.
put the Cash App
it
stuff
would-
on screen?
yeah.
If y'all could consider sending $10-$20 to my campaign, I'm asking for small dollar donations. That would really go a long way in helping me achieve this goal, so that I can be a representative for those that aren't represented in my district. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Oh,
for
nice.
coming on.
Thank
My hope is that we have people in this audience that call in or IM to other shows like Majority Report, for instance, that could drop Annie
Yes.
Fitzgerald's name, tell them to have her on. I know that you can email a lot of shows these days, so do that as well. Tag people on Twitter when you naturally are going to go follow Annie on Twitter, retweet her tweets, tag other people in them.
Please
let's
do.
let's be intrusive about it, okay?
Yes,
Because we need
yes.
more people like Annie in our government.
It
Guys-
has my
Thank you.
Americanism rearing up. The lies I was told about what America is have become what I think America should be. This crazy idea that there should not be taxation without representation. I don't like that you said there's 1 million unrepresented people in your state. So I hope very much that you knock out one of these Dems and take the seat.
Thank you. I really looking forward to serving my district in the state of Washington.
Awesome. Well, thanks for
Excellent.
coming on. We're going to let you go and then read some super chats and get out of here ourselves. But thanks so much,
Awesome.
Annie. And, we'll follow, but by all means, keep us up to date.
Yes, I will absolutely keep me up to date. Maybe consider having me back on
Sure.
again soon.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Great.
my friend. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks,
Good night.
guys.
Thank you.
Have a
See
good
you, Annie.
night.
Okay.
Super.
Well, that was good.
That was
Good
man.
discussion, right?
Yeah.
I sent her money, so follow my example and
Yeah.
send her money.
I have a super chat here that I'm definitely going to contribute. And I think that it was awesome that Dan from the Interstate was asking about transportation stuff. Coincidence? I don't know, but anyway.
You know what? On the off chance Dan is still listening.
better
be. Is.
Son of a
shit.
gun. Can't hear
I've been
you.
here the
Yeah.
whole time. I just assume you didn't want to hear my car noises. Slash, that's not a good example to give to the audience.
You know,
So did you get the groceries? And if so, can you tell me what's on the receipt?
Yeah, give us the goods here.
I wish I had a better receipt to give you here.
yeah.
But it's the Lotus Biscoff cookies that I really enjoy. It's
Oh.
my guilty pleasure. Vanilla cream cookies. They're overpriced, but they're vegan and they're very delicious.
Let's
Mm.
remind
Um,
everyone, you said earlier you needed to get groceries tonight. Like it was, if you didn't, you would probably assume based on your language, you would starve to death. And so
What'd you
far,
think
we've
he
got
was gonna
2
get?
cookies.
Like a sack
Well-
of grain?
I'm
Bunker
I'm just curious. I don't
rations
know.
or
Well,
I'm
I
just
said I needed
wondering.
to get I said I needed to get groceries in the sense that I have no better time to my car's ventilation's being kind of loud right now. Anyways, I have
That's
no
okay.
other time to get groceries. This is welcome to my life.
Yeah.
I'm very ambitious with my schedule, but yeah, I got cookies. I got Beyond ground beef, like that, like vegan ground beef, so I can make some. Sometimes do some spaghetti and meatballs. Sometimes I do some burgers. I just like to have that
I
around
bought
for
a
myself.
couple of Beyond Meat stocks, and it went down 50% because their CEO's a freak. So I'm fucked.
oh man.
Should have got Impossible. Dude.
What? You want to talk spaghetti? I'm telling you, we vibe. I got a sack of spaghetti right here. I never
A
don't
bag
have
of
a
it.
sack of spaghetti
Let's go.
ready.
Wow. Props.
Sack of
What?
spaghetti, ready, Freddy.
What
Oh
on?
yeah.
That's
I
legendary.
was not
right there,
ready
honestly.
for
That's
that. I
legendary.
was not ready
Wow.
for that.
Just imagine what
That's hard
else
in the
I've
paint.
had just below the camera this entire time.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to. Actually, I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's
You know,
mostly
they
Marmalades.
did a study on Ziploc bags that found out that they're one of the largest source of microplastics because every time
Oh,
you do
good.
the mechanism, you're breaking off little pieces of plastic into your food.
Glass Tupperware,
So-
Jake. Come on.
What now?
Pyrex, glass
Oh,
Tupperware.
I mean, yeah, but then it's that I don't get to wiggle a sack around.
Well,
That's part of the joy. I'll take the cancer. I'm
just
glad
listen
to know it.
yourself. Should we read some super chats and
Yes. Yes.
make like a
We gotta
tree?
make that money.
You don't need to put
Letterhack's
me off
fucking
of
trying
camera.
to get the
I
fuck
just,
out of here.
let's go.
Also,
I was just saying,
Dan,
you don't need to-
but wait, Morbius Dragon, thank you
Yeah.
very much, genuinely. Dan, also, I was gonna try to do it cleverly, but then you showed up, and now I don't have the balls. I'm trying to peer pressure you to do goofy stuff with me. I don't know what specifically. I just get the feeling after watching you and Binder do that Mickey Mouse bit. You're a funny gentleman. I wanna use that for stuff.
I'm waiting for Bender and I's next reunion to do that. I don't know. What are your favorite voices? I'm not great at voices. I'm not even great at doing
No,
my own
you just
voice.
have a sense of comedic timing. Like when you and he were doing, oh, but what if? I was like, oh yeah. I would watch a long form.
Oh yeah.
Dan-
I'm a good riffer. I'm not great at
Yeah.
like just pulling something out of the blue. I have a lot of great friends who are good at that, but no, I honestly work best with other people who like have a warpath against being funny, and then slowly after I realize that they are very funny, talented people, I like try to yes and because they're so talented it works out. So yeah, I'm sorry to disturb you, but and there go my keys. It doesn't matter because I'm in a
yes,
car
and-
without keys. But yes,
Yes, and I would like to know what else is on that receipt for the groceries because I find it hard to believe there's only 3 items. I'm just curious.
there really are only those 3 items. It's pasta. Okay, pasta sauce. I don't even think
Now,
I'm gonna
what's
make pasta.
what
with
kind of
this.
sauce?
I went with red, so like tomato sauce mixed with basil and garlic is usually my go-to.
Okay.
Is there added sugar?
Yeah.
I don't know. I get like
Andrea.
the Safeway brand organic. I would have to check in my the trunk of my car, and
Andrea.
that's not good. Trust me, that's not good radio. That's not good radio.
She's just trying to drag out the stream because she knows I'm tired. That's all this is. I swear.
I think we should drag
what is
out
the
those
what is the
groceries
total
from the
sugar
trunk.
value of your?
Oh God, here we go. I can mute anyone at any time. FYI.
And just
Yeah,
trying
I
to
will not
find
be
if I was
censored.
like and just trying to find if I was doing a drug deal during the show, and, and she's like,
Well, I encourage
she's-
those.
like, and just trying to DEA me, like, excuse me, out of the car, please, just like you know.
Well,
That's
I
awesome.
consider sugar more dangerous than heroin, so
Mm,
this is my profession.
true.
Oh, it's definitely not.
One time I saw a documentary for
I'll get into
sugar.
that debate.
There's this documentary on Netflix about the harmful effects of sugar and like how
Which
it's
one?
ruining everything. I forget what it was called, but it starts on the opening shot is of an old sugar mill like a block away from my house. And I was like, "Oh shit."
Oh,
No.
Your current place in SC or Colorado?
No, in Colorado, yeah. And it was
That's
not
funny.
like a block, but like a mile. But
I
still, it
was
like right there.
not to super dox Cosmopolitics, Christina, who you should follow and check out, but I was staying with her for a little bit around her birthday, and I was like, "Oh, so your city's claim to fame is golf and nuclear black sites. That's awesome. I love that. I love that for you."
Yeah,
Well,
and
we know
mine
that
is
there's plenty of nuclear black sites and golf in this country, so no doxing has occurred.
yeah, and
Let's
I'm
just
like
combine
Yeah,
the
sure.
two.
I'm an
Solve
hour
some of
away,
our
and it's
problems.
golf and landfills where I am. But
And,
And we have a
burning
lake.
tires.
We have a
Or are the
lake.
landfills on fire as well?
yeah, you're allowed to burn all kinds of stuff here. Okay,
Can you
let's,
like set fire to the landfill, like just one giant burning inferno
well, they
of
build-
shit?
they build parks on top of those. So here's a $10 super chat. I think this was for Jake from Obsolete Optics, right, Jake?
Oh, thank
not
you
sure.
so much.
Can we
Oh,
acknowledge that Jake
need
is still
Environmental Coffee
here
House.
at an hour and 40? Like Jake has not left yet.
Wild.
Pretty impressive. Advertising all of our Discords. Environmental Coffee
nice.
House Discord, Letterhack Discord, What You Can Do Discord. Thank you for the $10.
mensch.
Appreciate it.
You're fantastic. Thank you.
Check this out.
Are
My
we gonna
dogs
get a
are
left
goth.
past 10 Discord?
One letter. Well, we could.
Growing it.
Gifted a Letterhack membership. Thank you very much. Pinkerbell gifted 5 Dan from the Internet Power Report
Woo!
memberships. There you
Thank
go.
you, Pinkerbell. I can't tell that on my phone right now, so I appreciate
Get
you
it.
doing that. I'm saying that right now. Thank you.
That's
She
rad.
called into our show earlier too. Pitchfork Dragon, $10. Santa Rosa, California. After the fires that wiped out the rich neighborhoods, learned 2 lessons. 1, it's hard for the unhoused. 2, housing them brings all property value up.
Yes.
I mean, if you haven't tried an alternative to what we're doing now, what's wrong with you? Because what we're doing now isn't getting anywhere.
True.
Well, it's getting to the grocery store, apparently.
Yes,
It's
that's
not.
true.
It's. I mean, yeah. I won't get into like the place I'm living in LA is currently more suburban than it used to be, but
Suburban.
I
Interesting.
don't. I don't know. Oh yeah, LA is an incredibly suburban place. If people don't know, now you know. But like,
I've
I
never
really
been to
don't.
Los Angeles. I'm not one of the coastal elites that live in the
People
suburbs
should- I mean,
of
You
the coast.
do your. Go ask Jamie from Joe Rogan Experience to do your research for you. But no. I mean, like,
I will do that.
LA
I'll
is
send him an email.
incredibly yes, LA is an incredibly diverse place. A lot of places by LA have not been uncovered by the transplants who are the influencers, thank God, because I still have places to go to and not be seen. But yeah, I don't get how. So I lived in LA really close to, I was down the street from Hassan. I was down the street from all the big LA influencers and streamers and all that stuff. I was in the cool neighborhood and I hated it. And I couldn't wait to go back to like where I grew up in, because I'm not saying this about any of the people I met, because believe me, I don't spend my free time going to Gelson's with Hassan. Like, all right. But I will say that like I was around a lot of rich people back then, and I don't get how you can stand yourself walking around that much like houselessness and downtroddenness that is like directly in front of you. And out here in the suburbs of LA, everyone's plum thugging it, like everyone's going through it a little bit. So like on the one hand, people who are, asking for money and asking for resources are, actually getting them from people who can't afford the resources themselves. But yeah, you see that humanity and you see that community that you don't get from. I know we ended the hot take portion of this already, so I'm not going to say it, but I'll just say that like
Did we?
transplants of any city are much worse than the locals of any city, because I always see locals give back to the unhoused in LA. I very rarely see transplants, and the transplants are the one with money because they're the ones who moved to Los Angeles. So where y'all at? But hot take over.
You know, speaking of shopping, I blew it today. It was my wife's birthday. And
Today?
and I came back from the store and she's like, "Why didn't you buy me flowers?" And I said, "I didn't know you sold flowers."
Whoa, hold on. So it's your
Oh.
wife's
Whoa!
birthday, and you're doing like
It's not
a
really.
3-hour
It's not
show.
really my wife's birthday. My wife's birthday's Sunday. I'm fine.
Wait, it's on Sunday?
Yeah.
We'll
you
tell
missed
her
my
we
dad
said
joke.
happy birthday
I will.
and condolences.
All the
That's what I
presents
think.
Happy
are
birthday to the
secured.
way better half.
That's true. I always tell people, and I have family members who will tell people, "Oh, if you like him, you're gonna love his wife." Gets way better.
Oh wow! I was just joking, but hey, man. Hey, man.
No, she's the
It's true.
Yeah, Dan
luckiest
actually
gal in
hates
the
your
world.
wife. Apparently, I don't.
No, my wife is a horticulture student and works in a greenhouse. It'd be kind of weird if I bought her anything
good point.
plant
Yeah.
related. She'd be like, "What?"
Especially a transplant. That would be the worst.
Oh, good one. Actually, you know what? Check this out. I just learned this. Do you know what kind of tree fits in your hand?
No, what?
Palm
Hand tree.
tree.
Oh shit!
Jake's like, this is a serious question.
This fucking asshole.
I hate how Dan. Do you see how dry this son of a bitch is? Like I walk right into it every damn time.
All I see from you, Jake, is just the meme from Breaking Bad where homeboy's just like, he can't keep getting away with this. And I just see Matt keep getting away with this.
Mhm. Yep.
I rehearse all week. Just kidding.
A couple days beforehand.
Only half
Anyways,
the week?
someone needs to sleep.
Okay.
That's true. I woke up at like 3
Yeah.
o'clock. So I'll see you guys later.
Oof. There she goes.
Oh my
Dan, thanks
God.
for hanging out so long. This is great. 2 shows in a row. I'm honored.
It's a pleasure to spend time and potentially belabor everyone else I work with, and the people I'm bringing food home for to spend
Now-
time with you. Jake, good to see you.
Before you do go,
That's called a Jake's it. That's what we've been calling
That's what he does. That's what he does. That's
Yeah.
great. That's a very uncut gem style cliffhanger. Anyways, I'm not gonna do that because people rely on me for money. So please, if you're for some reason you like me and you like the letter hack, please check out Power Report tomorrow at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. Me, Ravana, noted fan favorites Jeff Wiggins, Bam, and Caesar are going to be joining, and it's going to be a good time. Honestly, I'm happy to take any suggestions for news. Please reach out to me on Twitter, Dan from the Web, Blue Sky, danfromtheera.net, Threads at Dan from the Internet for news stories. But based on what we've had in our little group chat where we prepare the show, it's going to be a lot of making fun of right-wingers. It's going to be fun for the whole family. So that's what the week's been like. So please check us
Cool.
out there, youtube.com/Dan from the Internet. Letterhack, you're awesome. You're great. You're a
Same.
blessing for the left. Thank you for having these conversations.
Yeah.
I know you sell out to everyone, so shut up. It's fine. I'm kidding. I love you very much. Have a good one. And to the community, one of the best communities on the left, one of the only communities I would take a call from my car on the side of the road. Have a good time and have a good one. Peace.
All right. See ya. Bye, everybody.